No, it's not.
Most people don't talk slow.
Never mind.
I don't know how it spins.
Don't get stoned and look at it.
I'm hot? Wow, that's loud. I feel like that's super loud. Anyway, we're back with another episode, but first, sponsors, head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. There's a complete list of sponsors there. Go check them out, and there's a complete list down below every episode. If you haven't left a review, please leave a review. Appreciate it. I want to thank a few of the sponsors now. Gallo Technologies, Rhino Metals, Blackwater Ammunition, Pulsar. Thermal imaging technologies coming down in price. Go check out Pulsar. CAA Gear Up USA, home of the MCK. Go check them out. Enforce Weapon Lights. Kenzie's Optics. Oh, and Breakthrough Clean. I got the shirt. I got to thank Breakthrough. All right. Got a special guest today.
Aww.
One of my genius marketing director, owner, entrepreneur, influencer, maybe. Let's see. James Mason. What's going on, brother?
Well, that's about the nicest thing anybody said about me in a long while.
Listen,
Appreciate that.
You deserve those accolades. You wear them proud.
Yeah. I go by a lot of names, but that'll work. I'll take it.
Listen, I appreciate you coming out, and I know you kind of voyeur around my savagery on LinkedIn and see all the stuff that I put out there. Do you think I'm crazy?
Slightly, but that's good. If you weren't, it would be boring.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now, you've been around this game for a minute, putting it lightly. You've seen all the things. Talk to me about why you're in some of the businesses you're in and why you choose to do the things that you do and what you've observed over the years that's led you to that place. Because you have an interesting catalog of brands that you work with and things that you do that aren't just in this business. So tell me about it.
Well, the thing I find most interesting about, I'll just call it the 2A industry, is that I like working in markets that have the most room for growth. And even though, like I said, it's been about 13 years, I don't think there's any less room for growth now than there was in 2008. And the potential of this market to expand is massive. And in each position that I've had, representing brands or now running this one, the goal isn't so much market share, it's how much can we drive that next stage? What can we do? What can we build? And sometimes the products, sometimes the companies are the vehicles to do that.
I thought you were going to say the gun industry's doomed, so you have to diversify to get your way out.
Well, it's not doomed by any stretch, whether that be legislatively or commercially. It's going to continue on. The question is how well, right? I've worked with a lot of owners that when you go in, one of the hardest things to overcome is they're doing okay or they're doing well. And when you hit a certain level of things have been good and things are going well, you start to lose the perspective of it could still be better. And you get a little bit isolative, I think would be a good word. And working with a lot of owners, they're either going to take that step and say, yes, things are good, I can make them better, or they're going to stay where they're at, and then someone else is going to come along and beat them out. So we've seen that time and time again with the company that 12 years ago was the top dog. Now you don't even hear about them, but there's going to be a startup that came up from the recession in 09, from 15 to 17. Those companies, whether it's our industry, I think Uber, those type of things, they came out of the recession. They're now at the top. There's a lot of companies that came out in the 15, 16 era that actually did something different. Take F1 Firearms, right?
Mm-hmm.
They came into the game with a lighter, skeletonized receiver. Pretty simple. People could have done the same thing for 10 years.
Gucci gun.
Yeah, but they figured it out, and they came to the top. Oh, and how many people, while they came to the top, went out of business?
Well, I mean, it's a matter of resources, and I think if you're better diversified, you have your hands in more pots. And when you have your hands in more pots, it's not just about money, like you said. It's about understanding different markets, understanding different things. Now, of course, in the firearms business, there's a lot of, how do I put it, like tangled webs. There's the outdoors industry. There's this, there's that. There's fishing, hunters. There's a whole different thing, tactical, all this different stuff. So you have all these different subgenres under one genre. And then you have the ability, of course, to say, the outdoors industry is the gun industry. I mean, that's how Vista makes a living, right? We're the outdoors industry. So you have to think, when you have your hand in more pots, like you mentioned, other businesses offline, we were talking about things you're doing, you have the ability to reach across perspective and have maybe a fresh perspective or a different take on how to do something. And there's other industries that are far more mature than ours. That's putting it gently. And I think in that maturity, you see the ability, maybe, I could look at it that way, or I didn't understand that market.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is, for example, in the gun industry, we have a very hard time displaying who our customer really is and what that customer looks like and what the look, feel, and experience of that customer might be.
Yeah.
Give you an example. Every time that you go to I don't care if it's I'm getting a little echo. I don't know if it's you or no, but there's every time that you go to see someone speak on Fox News or anywhere, you never hear these people when they're talking about gun rights. You never hear people talk about the FFL owner.
No.
And that's who's affected.
That's the front line.
That's the front line.
Yeah.
That's the trench, and we're all in it. But we are in an industry where we have such a hard time identifying. Like, you could ask people in this industry what the problem is, and they say, well, they keep calling an AR-15 an assault rifle, and it's an Armalite rifle. That's how stupid.
And
we feed them that we are.
Can I tell
stupid.
The secret of
Go
that?
ahead.
Okay. The whole secret of that is, and you see it every time the argument comes up, something like that, and it's going to come down to a semantic war of you idiots don't know what this stands for, right? They do. They know exactly what an assault, they know exactly what they're talking about. Their job is to provoke you. Their job is to piss you off. They use those terms. When they write those bills, they put a certain way so that it pisses you off. And you can't let that happen. You can't respond to that.
There's wisdom in what you just said, but we're not wise.
It's same thing I told a buddy of mine. He was going off on me about some congresswoman somewhere, right? Probably spent 15 minutes rambling. I was like, you just invested 15 minutes and your time in someone you have zero chance of ever bringing to your side on a perspective. It's wasted time. Then I said, the only thing you can do with that person is move to their district and place one vote. You can do nothing else. Their job, and they're in a safe district, they're not going anywhere, right? Their job is to piss you off. The more they focus on you, or that they get you to focus on them, the less that you're going to focus on what actually matters, on what you can actually control. But the bane of the two-way industry is we focus entirely on all the things we can't control and let the things we can control go by the wayside.
I agree with that. I think there's a lot of that. I would sprinkle in on top, like nice little donut dust. I would sprinkle in that. I think there's this underlying theme that I hope is dying too, that we will cannibalize and eat our own, whether it's because they don't have enough experience, whether they don't know who the real customer is, and I'm guilty of it myself. We're all guilty of it. But there's this underlying current that almost somebody's got to win. Yeah. And for somebody to win, someone's got to lose. So we're constantly fighting these nuclear wars within our own borders. It's like, oh, Massachusetts is going to decide to drop a bomb on Florida, and Florida's going to drop a... And we have that all the time. And I would say more so in this business than any other industry I've ever been around. Now, I know nobody likes to have their head stepped on and somebody rise above them. That's common, James. Everybody has that. But I see it as very dangerous in our industry because we reveal ourselves, like you were alluding to the other side.
Yeah. And it's a whole lot easier to become a victim than to go do something. You can talk and you can complain and you can say all the reasons this is wrong and these things happening to me.
Right.
That's easy. That's lazy. But doing something about it, making something, creating something, doing something to actually grow, that actually takes something, and that's unfortunately something our industry has traditionally not been very good at.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see how it plays out. I'm less optimistic about where we'll be in 5 years than maybe even you are in this business, but I'm jaded. I admit, salty. I'm not there. I'm not prepared to say we can figure it out, especially when we have such struggles at leadership.
Well, I think we choose our leaders, and we've gone with the people that are the loudest, not the smartest. We've gone with the people that can get the most views, can get the most exposure, but not the people that actually do something about it.
Right.
And if we get, as I like to say, if you take the whole pie, right, of the entire population of this country, 30% are going to be in our boat. They're 2A people. They're as passionate as we are. 49%, we're never going to convince any of them of anything. The only growth point we have is that 21%. And we need to invest everything in that. Nothing in the own the libs, do whatever,
So
scatter. Put everything in the 21 because that's where we have a chance to grow. If we keep putting everything in our own market, in our 30%, we're going to keep building up that 30%, but we're going to keep selling, but we won't grow. We have to go after that 21%. It means we're going to have to change the way we do a few things.
I look at it. I'm going to try to blow your mind right now.
Oh, do it.
Sit tight.
All right.
So I deconstruct it a little differently. Here's what I say.
Okay.
Since this run on firearms, ammunition, anything you want to talk about around our industry, accessories, whatever, COVID, we have had the opportunity to deconstruct some very powerful evidence as an industry, right? I could ask everybody in this room, what's probably one of the most powerful things to sway Californians' thinking towards firearms, which is a very large percentage of the percentages you're talking about.
Yeah.
How do you sway their opinion? Well, I think there was a lot of recent gun buyers in California that were like, what do you mean I have a wait period? They don't understand the laws that are passed. They don't understand what they checked yes to or whatever. But they're going to understand they waited 7 days for a firearm that they needed during the pandemic. My point, James, is if you deconstruct, and I could name a couple examples during COVID that have come up, that being one in a state. Where is the NSF or NRA saying we need a blitz campaign around this? Don't want to wait 7 days? We're putting a piece of legislation through now, or we're going to attempt to, or whatever. But where's that? So we don't look at the metadata or the microdata around us, okay? There's a gazillion people that would love to see, you know, a greater emphasis on things that don't speak to an audience of like, you know, exclusivity, which is a problem around this industry. Dumbing it down, and there are some people doing some good work, so I don't want to say it's all bad, but when we can't even deconstruct that metadata and boil it down to a campaign or to initiative or something that moves the industry forward, if we can't do that, we're in trouble. We're in trouble, in my opinion. And who's running these houses that no one can sit back and do that? Because that would be a great push. Didn't realize your gun took 7 days to get to you? Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. But instead, we're worried about giving out a pouch and a hat.
I think that it's so easy to answer an email, make a donation, and feel like you did something. But let's think about it. In 1995, I read my first American Rifleman, or whatever the NRA mag was that I had.
Oh, God.
Right? I can tell you that the message...
There's like 7. But American Rifle one's a good reference. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I don't know which one it was, but it was about 95, right?
Right.
And it has this... I kid you not, it's the exact same format.
I knew you were gonna say
26
this.
years later.
Right.
It's the same message. And has it worked? Are we any better off now than we were in 1995?
Well...
With a substantial yardage gained.
No, of course the answer is no, but...
If you go 25 years and it's not working, maybe and I'm not anti-NRA or anti-NSSF, but maybe we should stop trying to hire these companies to fight our battles.
Let me say this, and I say this, and I think everybody in the room will agree with this.
Yeah.
the act worked. The move worked. Like every person in this room has had a move that works. The move worked, but the move hasn't aged well. So 10 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe it was giving away a pouch. Maybe it was doing this. Maybe it's doing that. But you got to evolve. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'll give you an example. How many times have you heard an old guy tell a corny joke that he probably used in a barroom to pick up a girl?
Oh, I do it all the time.
Of course, right. But I'm saying our grandfathers or our dads did that all the time.
Yeah.
And we'd be like, that's so dumb. That worked at one point for him. You know, that move worked. But sometimes the moves don't age well. And I don't like to say, like, over this 50-year period, you know, that didn't work. Whatever. I don't like to. So I am more optimistic than people think. Yeah. So I'm giving you hope. But I also see it as like we bang the shitty joke. Yeah. The moves don't age well. And we just keep, like you said, you know, for 10 years, boom, boom.
It'll work eventually if we just keep.
You just got to keep going. And it speaks to what I told you about, present the same idea over and over again. You'll have a job.
Yeah, yeah.
Dare to shake the branches, you're fired.
Yeah. Or you try something once and it fails, you're gone.
You're gone.
But if you do the same thing and you hit the status quo, you're going to stay. Whether that be the leadership of an organization or a marketing director, right? For a company that doesn't actually have real metrics.
Well,
or an organization.
Let's not even go to the genius marketing directors of the universe, but I think if we could evolve enough to look at the metadata that COVID and this run on, like, I think what FFLs need is some education on how they could push laws, into effect that could help them, that could maybe get them more involved in the community.
Is there any group that is teaching local gun shops how
the NSSF is supposed to speak to them?
Okay.
I don't know that they do a great job, and I'm just bringing up examples that I witnessed during COVID, that could be harnessed. So there's that. What about educating FFLs on how to better allocate their inventory post-COVID? How to, I think that's something you'd love to be involved in, right? I think that's something that a lot of companies would love to be involved in because they all like to get the inventory. But what does every gun company do? They buy a bunch of shit during a run that just sells no matter what, right? Like right now, you could sell the desk gun. You could sell anything.
Yeah. If it goes boom, it sells.
And they keep buying. So they go on this buying rampage. They keep buying. And then they're stuck with inventory they can't move until the next run. Yeah. So how do you get the message out of how do you teach to stop living run to run? Okay. And that's something that I feel we can learn through COVID and we could learn through the period we went through. That's metadata that we could take and educate FFLs. Another thing would be how, obviously with the boom and growth of the influencer and the podcast format, if I went to SHOT Show this year and they had like an upstairs thing that was like, learn how to post on Facebook, I think I'd lose my fucking mind. And they just did that.
Yeah, wasn't it? That was a segment in last one, right?
Like, how about we evolve a little? What about a class somebody actually wants to take or a learning experience? But there's just not enough deconstruction of that metadata, in my opinion, James.
Well, I think when it comes to actual FFLs, and we have a very interesting relationship with them because we spend a lot of time on that, on each one of our dealers, for instance. And we spend hours talking, breaking down what they actually need. And one thing we've discovered is, like you said, yeah, anything that goes boom will sell because that's what's in the shop. The assumption is, here's our sales numbers, everything we had sold, so everything is popular. The variable that's not in there is they bought this because it's what we had.
They would have bought sand.
It doesn't mean it's what they want. I have wondered for years why there is no market research at the store level. What do you want? What are you looking for? What can we do to get you what you want, rather than you coming in here and choosing from what we have? And during this last year of the rush, no one knows exactly what they want. They just know that if they stock it, they'll buy it. And that kind of plays to what we realized 2 years ago when we started studying these dealers, is the assumption that they're all businessmen is not true. A lot of them don't understand the business beyond the P&L statement. So when you're talking about education, if I was the NSSF, I would put a huge amount of resources in developing a curriculum, not just for the ones that are currently there to make them help them run better businesses, but I've got a guy in Florida who 18 months ago was a plumber, right?
Oh, wow.
In this little swampy Florida town, and if you need plumbing,
well,
it was very swampy. And he knew everybody. And so he took advantage of the opportunity, started moving one type of product, and right now he's renting out 2,600 square feet. Where's the resource for him to learn how to run that business beyond what he's figured out himself?
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing. I can go to college and learn general business. I can go take classes and get certification on this. But I have yet to find one resource that someone can go to, how to run your gun store better or how to start.
And right now he's chugging. Like he's on a train full steam ahead.
He's getting things wherever he can get them.
It's amazing.
Just trying to get inventory. And but there's people out there. We're so focused on who the current guys are that we're overlooking the people we need to focus on. Who's the next?
Right.
Who are the next FFLs? The next distributors? What's the next style of distribution? What's the next evolution of this business? But we don't do that because what has been is secure and comfortable. And in this industry, we really don't like the anxiety that comes with new.
No, we don't.
We don't.
I hear like someone's phone.
Not mine.
Somebody watching something?
Murray's got mine.
You hear that? It's out there. We gotta kill that. It's fucking loud. The TV out there, I can hear it. Can you shut it? Or lower it? It's loud. Sorry.
But I also think a lot of that comes not just to those businesses, but comes to what's coming in that door. Okay? And then what we do with them once they leave that door. So we interviewed a couple hundred brand new shooters that just bought a pistol within the last 5 months. And we asked them what their experience was after, number one, the training is, we like to assume that when someone buys a gun, as our guy Rick says, right? He used to be a dive instructor. Once you've once you've taken a breath underwater, you're a diver, right? Once you've purchased a gun, you're a gun owner. Once it gets to that point, what do we do as a community? We throw them, join this, fund this, fight this, be part of this. That's not why they bought a pistol. But we like to think that we're going to assimilate them into our culture instead of integrating them, and we want them to be like us. And that pushes them away. That's why they don't pursue the training.
Well, you're right. And can I tell you this?
Yeah.
To add on to that, at the same time that that's happening, we say, hey, welcome in. We have all these subgroups. Are you a hunter? Are you a tactical person? Are you this? And the person is just trying to figure it out.
I want to learn how to use it first.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's never been a great job to bridge that.
When I was in the
for the consumer
side, it was all about growing the shooting sports, right? Well, and that was a good goal. There was the women's shooter section with the statistics about the fastest growing, right? Which didn't really turn out to be real. You had the junior shooting push, but if I'm a mom, am I going to go buy my kid a gun or am I going to go buy him a bow? It's very hard to get them in unless they're the kids of people that are already in. So if you're a hunter, how many, and I've asked people at shops, how many people came in and said, hey, I want to go shoot a deer. What do I need? Nobody, right? So the idea that now that you are a gun owner, you need to pick your activity is a bad strategy, because what we're doing is we're saying, welcome to our community. Which group do you want to be like us with? And we're totally ignoring who they are, why they got it, and then facilitating their need. Finding out what they need rather than what we want.
Well, there's a lot there. And to get to the point where we need to be, there's too much separation in the thought process across the board. But you're not wrong. Like I said, I only would add on that that secular subgroups.
Industry level.
Right.
Let's think it's not up to the NSSF or the NRA to do this. It's up to each company to build those relationships with their own consumers. When you're in this industry, it's expected that because I make money and a living this way, that I need to have a equity in the fight. The best contribution as a company that you can make to the 2A community is to work with your customers and to grow them and to build those relationships. If each company does that, there's no need for the overarching group to try and dictate and send that message. It's already being done, but it takes a lot of effort on the side of brands to do that. And I'm not sure they're all willing to do that, which is actually what our company is banked on, that our competitors won't.
Right. Yeah. The problem around the industry in that respect is we're too brainwashed into the systems that exist to have a change like that infiltrate and penetrate. And we're too indoctrinated into, we got to go to this DNRA show, we got to get the gold jacket, you know, like that's a thing. And
word for buying more ads.
You know, and like these are, how did somebody put it? These are the wishes of like you remember in Gladiator when he's like, these are the wishes of a dying king, you know, whatever, when he's on his deathbed, like these are ideas and these thoughts are in like the talons of the 70, 65 to 85-year-old fucking emperors walking around the industry. And it's like, it's hard to watch. I get what you're saying. And I would love to see.
They only matter if the people that they're leading think they matter. It's so easy. Like we said before, it's easier to be a victim than do something about it.
Oh, yeah.
It's easier to say it's the NRA, it's the NSS job to go grow this. No, it's yours. It's your job. It's your responsibility in that business to grow your business.
And I think the companies are going to get their marketing act together first before we see a widespread change. Like I see that coming just because I'm talking to a lot of these guys behind the scenes. And I know the type of programming, I use programming in air quotes, they want to come out with, and types of things that they want to, and I'm sitting back and I'm like, that's not a bad idea, you know, and I see that. But they're just starting to get their legs underneath them as to what the new marketing landscape is going to look like. That's first, before we get to the holistic, bigger stuff. And I think they have to kind of sort that out because you don't have one without the other.
I think there's a step before that, though.
Maybe.
Asking them what they want. This idea that we're going to go produce the content and talk to these people and tell them, what I don't see is asking them what they want to see, what content.
That's always going to be a battle.
Well, it doesn't have to be.
That's always going to be a battle.
If you don't ask, you don't know. Now,
yeah, but you'll get owners, James. You'll get owners that look at that data and they'll tell you, "No, I know my customers." What are you talking about?
And then they're going to fail.
Wow, I mean, there's a lot of people that make money in spite of their own stupidity. And I've seen it
for a while, right? But eventually, something is going to break.
Maybe.
I look at the companies that are in the next boost or are in the supplier showcase.
I like to say, create a repeatable, honorable, firm strategy around the data, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Now, are there guys, because listen, I'm going to get into the other underbelly of this industry if people want. There are owners that just because they know the demand's so high, they can list shit on Gunbroker, they can do all kinds of funky shit, and I know owners that do it.
And if you want to compete with your dealers, then
have fun
with that.
There's a lot of funky shit that goes on in this business, and I could go deep into what that underbelly looks like, but there's a lot of ways they're upcharging their own fucking customers and motherfucking them every way that they can. And I could rattle off 2 or 3 companies that do that right off the top of my head, and there's people in this room that know I can do it. So I think will still get those pockets of owners because, like I said, there's that underbelly of like, they're walking around like the Emperor coming off the Death Star. Like, they're like, good. Like, you put the data together and they're like, but I'm going to tell you how we're going to do it. I've foreseen it. You know, and I've literally heard that language come out of their mouths.
How many boardrooms have you been in where the sentence has been spoken? Here's the results we're going to get over the next 6 months.
Never.
I've heard it so many times. And
never.
It blows my mind that
No.
And these are all in big companies because they get so big that they assume that their market is so stable that they can predict that.
I would eat someone alive if they ever said that.
But
yeah, I'm saying yeah. I guess my reputation precedes me. In my current lifetime, I've never seen, in 5, 6, 7, 8 years that I can remember, I've never seen that because they know I would shoot 1,000 holes in it. I'm too outspoken. I'm not going to sit back in the chair and go, oh yeah, you got that. I think, but I have seen 150 times in the boardroom where owners will say, but you don't understand, all we need to do is just go viral. And I'm like, what does that even mean? What does that even mean?
Buzzword.
I've seen owners ask for a return on investment in marketing, which I challenge any marketing director to come up with a better answer than this. To every owner that listens to the show or is going to listen to the show, if you own a company in the firearms industry, you need to stop asking that question because you sound stupid. And if I was your marketing director, I would think you were stupid. The return on investment of your marketing campaign is simple. It's the amount of content that you can create effectively with the budget given in the shortest period of time. That's your return on investment. If you give me $1,000, I can't magically make the range fee, the ammo fee, everything else disappear. Yeah. There's costs to marketing. There's at the end of the day, and it's going to cost you money to acquire a new customer. They're a customer first. Your job is to transition them from a customer to a client as a brand. But you'll get owners that'll look you dead square in the face and say, what's my ROI on you doing this? I don't fucking know. I mean, it's all at the end of the work. There's a lot of guesswork built into it, and any good marketing director knows that. But the way you position it is, hey, James, I got an idea. If I'm a junior guy on your team, I got an idea. You know what? We haven't done a great job tapping into sheep hunts. I have this opportunity to go on a sheep hunt, and I'm going to work with a couple of guides. And this is going to probably cost maybe $8 or $10,000, but we're going to get to kind of tag along on a few hunts, and I'm going to be able to you can start to see the makings of a plan. Okay?
Anytime that they come, I'm like, great, make a plan.
Yeah, but
if it is viable, we will do it.
But you can draw it up on a napkin. I mean, literally, Coca-Cola did that with their marketing plan campaign to put the names on the Coke cans.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be, but you can start to see, okay, this opens up this market. Maybe we are weak there. I got to look into that, and I'm being facetious with that market. But you can see where it can go. Mm-hmm. The problem we've had for so long in this industry, and among so many owners too, is they're not willing to hear those ideas, and if they're not a part of it, and it doesn't make them, they start to think like, well, you're going out on that hunt, so you're benefiting from it. There's a weird underbelly in this industry of that type of angst between marketing departments, owners. It's very strange, and
I think it goes beyond owners, and it goes actually into intercompany. I worked for a tire company a long time ago, and part of the job was there was the off-road, desert, drift, all these events that you're flying to, you're staying in shitty hotels, you're driving yourself to the bone, but everybody looks at that's staying back, and they see it as this dream, always having so much fun, right? And then they want a piece of it. And one of the biggest fights won't be with the upper management. It'll be with your other coworkers that are back at the office process.
Well, I used to say all the time, I had a famous speech. I used to say to everybody that worked the floor, worked the machines, I used to say, if you guys think they're having fun up there in sales, you're welcome to come up anytime and make calls. But I'm going to warn you, they make 200 dials a day, and 190 of them say no.
No.
So if you're prepared to deal with that and you want to do that,
there's your job.
Come on. Same pay for the day, 200 dials, go. What?
It's not all fun and games, is it? No.
Well, it becomes a different animal. So there's an easy way to shoot, holes in that hole. The marketing department has nothing but fun. And they have to understand that we're the first to go. That side of the industry is the first to go.
I got to say that if your department or your company is conveying that to your employees, then your focus is wrong, because what they should be seeing is not the experience that the employee had, but the experience that the potential customer is delivered to them. If they're seeing you having fun rather than seeing the result of what you're creating with those relationships and those experiences, if you're getting a lot of that feedback, maybe you're not communicating up what the actual impact of your work is.
It's crazy.
Because if they'll focus on that, they won't look at you. And then you don't have the situation of getting fired the first time it doesn't work.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's a tough, this business is very strange like that, and I can never understand sometimes why people want to be in it.
Well, because you've got people that can, you've got 99% of the money in 3% of the companies. And there's the side of the industry that's a cash grab, and that comes every 4 to 6 years, right? On a regular rhythm. And they've been so trained to follow that pattern. So when it's in the low times, half the people that I've worked with, they're just sitting around waiting for the next rush.
Right.
And if we continue that cycle, we're going to only be talking to our people bad, or only talking to our people when we want something from them, or when they're scared, or they're anxious, or they're experiencing. It's a very manipulative relationship with the customer base. If we took that relationship dynamic to any other relationship, a marriage, whatever, it would be highly dysfunctional. But in this business, it's just the way it is.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the honey thing?
The honey?
What can you tell me about the honey thing?
The honey? Well, one of our employees, Jim and I, we are looking at taking the local honey world and making it national based upon allergies.
Tell me more.
Okay. So
I want to hear about this.
not Blackhound, even though they flew me here. But this isn't Blackhound. This is separate. But the idea...
I just want to hear about it because it's so different.
Okay, so we were at... a bunch of people came over for my birthday, which was super awesome. Murray came from Colorado. And we're sitting outside, and my lady's just sneezing like crazy because we got all the pollen. And Jim says, hey, have you tried local honey? And she's like, no. I said, yeah, my daughter did local honey once, and the bees go and get the local pollen. And
Like it's heroin. My daughter she was on the local honey.
Yeah, she was on the local honey. But after a while, you use the honey as a natural sweetener. You build up that pollen resistance to the local pollen where you are, as long as it's local to you. And as soon as they said that, my brain started going, I'm going to monetize this shit. Right? That's just the only thing my brain does. So we developed this concept. We're going through, and the idea is that we want to... There's thousands of local honey farms, and we want to distribute them with a system that allows people to find their zip code, get the one closest, make a single purchase, make a subscription, try it from a different area. Hey, I'm moving to Chicago in a year. I got bad allergies. Let me start buying the honey close to where I'm going and start building that up. And we have no idea where it's going to go, but we're going to have some fun.
It's fucking amazing.
I don't know.
It's okay. I feel like that idea. I feel like there's somebody in Oprah's book club that might have thought of that idea. I feel like somebody should have.
Well, I got the domain now to scare. We're gonna call it Allerbees.
That's fucking clever.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I think that'll be a lot of fun,
Yeah.
especially if.
But it's important to come up with, if you're building brands in this industry, find something else to do, because you will get so
good advice.
So shut into the culture, to the way things are done, and it will literally cramp your... The more you do outside, I have a terrible work-life balance. I don't have any hobbies. Business is my hobby. It's the only thing I do, right? And one of the downsides is when you do that, especially in one industry, you start to put the blinders on, right? Mm-hmm. So whether it's a hobby, whether it's getting... Now, any hobby I try and do, I end up trying to make a business out of it. But doing other things other than your 9 to 5, other than your main focus, and diversifying yourself will bring to whatever else you're doing a perspective you wouldn't have, which is one problem we have in the two-way world. We've got our group, our way, our thinking, and either you like it or go away. Well, that's not going to grow. And it's also going to stunt our messaging, and pretty soon everything we say is going to sound like a lecture. And once again, that's a bad relationship.
It's terrible.
Yeah, that wouldn't flourish in any other venue. Why do we think it'll flourish here?
Oh, and then let me... from the standpoint of messaging, we're in even deeper trouble, and there's a lot of reasons for that. You have too many people that they have no plan, yet nobody speaks for this industry, but everybody speaks for this industry. And if you look at it, it's kind of like, well, where's our focus? What's our bullet points? What's our messaging? What are our talking points? What should I even be versed on? You know, there's none of that.
Well, and it goes to the start of it.
I told you, I'm a free person, but I mean, I've said it 100 times on this show. I've never had an SSF or an NRA, any organization reach out to me. Not once.
I wouldn't worry about it.
You know,
I would be more concerned about the companies that are at the next booths and the suppliers and the Wednesday pop-ups. In 2016, I went up and down. I spent a day and a half just on those booths, mostly the Wednesday pop-up or whatever day it was. And I asked each of them a question, and it was mostly when their company was incorporated or LLC'd, when they officially started, and how, most of them was 7 months from the time they incorporated to exhibiting at the 4-Foot Next booth, right? The idea that you just got to get going and start making money, if you are launching your product within a year of starting your company, you're doing it wrong. Guaranteed. You're not researching, finding out what they want, how they want it. If you're not doing that research for a year and you don't have enough capital
there's got to be some garage time.
You have to. And once they get big, on the other side of the spectrum, on the other side of the pendulum, once they get big, they stop researching. I have tried to sell research projects to this industry for 10 years, and only 2 people have ever taken it.
It's crazy.
2. And probably 50 pitches to, hey, let's go research. I see from your packaging, your distribution, you opened up here. What can we do? Let's go in and research and find out the next growth point. 2 companies ever took advantage of that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a hard pill to swallow that And that's the downfall of a lot of businesses. And there has to be that garage time, that incubation period of learning your market, trying things, seeing what your friends like, the lemonade stand.
Yeah.
Seeing what other people like, okay, you know, I could take this to the next person, the layering. But I think the growth in, especially the soft goods market, has proliferated a lot of that.
Soft goods, as in
bags, stuff like that. So you have that kind of like, I just got to get it to market. And a lot of that's born out of the even COVID and everything else. Everybody just got to get it out there any way that I can.
I understand fully on that one right now, but starting, it's suicide.
No, it's dangerous. It can be dangerous to your brand.
Imagine going into your first surgery after rushing med school. How's that going to go?
I wonder if there's a study on that, on how long companies, like what the, like take a sample. I'd be interested to see if anyone knows out there's a study, let me know. You know, $1 billion companies, right? Say 500 million plus, whatever. Take a sample of 20 of them. I'd be interested to see a study of how long they were $1 to $3 million companies. You know what I'm saying? Like how long their incubation period was, or sub-million. And is there a correlation? There might not be. I don't know. But like, do they all like is it like outliers? Like, is it 10 years? Is it 10,000 hours? 10 million hours of doing something?
I think that'd have to be correlative because there's so many variables that could affect that.
Right.
Amount of startup capital, amount of revenues from your, there's certain products that you can go make, and the second they hit the market, they're going to go. So gauging that, there would have to be a lot of different variables taken into effect, but you could separate it out and by product value, commodity versus non-commodity, those type of things. And you could probably get some pretty good stuff off that.
Probably get some data, but I'd be curious if there was any correlation. It might not be, maybe just throw away data, but it's like, I think more often than not, there is a commonality between the garage and the 20,000 square foot, whatever you want to get, 10,000 square foot facility. Like you're up and running, 10 employees plus. I would think that there's a correlation there between the garage and in that moment.
It'd be interesting to find out.
It'd be interesting to find out. And I think there needs to be that incubation period.
I used to hear a lot, things weren't going well back when I had the agency before Blackhound. There'd be periods, summer, right? Summer always sucks until we figured out why. And I used to hear upper management owners say the phrase, we could make more money doing this, something totally else, right?
Right.
And yes, in some ways that was true. I had a machine shop in 2012, and in 13, when the gun rush was over, all the orders stopped, and they had 20 machines sitting there. So we hooked them up with WeatherTech.
Right.
And then instead of machining uppers, they were machining molds for rubber mats.
Right.
So there are things you can do where you can make more money. But what I like to, if it's not a sub product like that, just something totally different, then go do that. But if you're in it for just the money, there's a lot of businesses outside of the 2A where you can make a whole lot more, where you don't have to touch inventory, where you can make more money.
No, I 100% agree.
But if you're here for that, you're in the wrong industry. And there's things you can do to grow your business. There's things we've done where we said, okay, here's our product, but what do we actually do the best? And when we started to look at, like, not do we make the best, what operation do we do the best? That opened up new businesses, new divisions of the company that'll be out by shot that have opened up. We realized that here's what we've done in this period of time, and we do these things really well. Imagine if 2 years ago, when we launched the first product, if we had all this we've built now. What if we had that then? Our trajectory would be a lot different, right? So we're building a system so that all these other companies that are in the next boost and the Wednesday pop-ups that are starting up, we're building a system to let them be born on first, second, or third base and enter the market with what we've built with them.
Right.
Give them that space to grow. Give them that unique structure of dealership that we've built, and hand it to them. We're going to make our piece, right? In a distribution network that isn't based upon what we've done for the past 30 years, using systems and technology to make it efficient, and opening up. Our brand is going to be opening up the market to those brands by selling the system we've built. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
And if we cooperate with each other like that, rather than just looking at who's my competition, our company doesn't care about competition. We didn't start this company to get our market share or our piece of the pie. We started to build a different pie. We couldn't care less about market share. It's the most egotistical metric. It means nothing. It sounds good when you talk at a bar. Sounds good when you're talking to your friends. But go to a bank and say, hey, I've got 35% market share of my industry. What you got for me? Other than a loan, it doesn't mean anything, right? What the metrics that should matter. So, for instance, our Facebook, Instagram, I think right now, maybe 3,000 likes in 2 years. Very unimpressive, right? But we've talked to 90% of them, have actual conversations and gotten to know them. We did a video interview in Texas. It's at 6,000 views. And Murray's got my phone, but as of last night, it was 693 phone calls. Of course, I gave my cell number out to start the interview, right? That's 10% of the people that watched that video called my cell phone. Those metrics matter. That's where the growth is. The percentage of the market you own, anybody that comes to you with that metric doesn't have a plan on where they're going.
You're casting a different net with that approach, and I like it. It's a laser focused net. I don't want to necessarily take away from the market share people, but I understand what you're saying.
Can I take away from the market share?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna take all of it. Yeah.
Just kidding. But the thing. So when you talk about market share, especially in our industry, you can go down the subculture rabbit hole. Like we have 20% of the hunting market. We have 10% of and this is the kind of credence I put into market share. So I agree with you. We have 2% of this, but you can keep boiling it down. It's kind of like getting into the data can become arduous, meaning we have 20% of the hunting market, but do we have 100% of the deer market? Do we have 100%? So you could start to go down these rabbit holes. So I agree with you from that standpoint. Studying that type of data. Now, when you start a company, the beauty is you start at zero. You got nothing.
Actually, when you start something new, you start with 100% market share. If that's your thing, make something new. Now, someone may come imitate something like that. But the second you start something new, which is what this industry is it's the dirty word. It's the thing they say it like it's a bad word, right? When you do that, you own 100% from the start. What you do with that, it determines how much of that you keep.
Sure. I only say zero because you have a blank canvas, and you can paint how you'd like to paint.
Yeah.
Like I want to start in this area, and I want to work my way all the way over to the right. I'll give you an example. I could say, I want to do a backpack. Okay. I want to do bags. And if I do bags, I can say, I'm talking to Ace or something. I could say, Ace, we're going to do bags. We're going to do bags. And we're going to start with the hunting market, because that's a very hard market to break into for bags. Then it'll be easy to cross into like gray man or backpackers. Then it'll be, then we'll come tactical, we'll come full circle. So from that standpoint, I see it as zero, because it's like, where do we want to cast the net? Okay. I agree with you though. Market share as a blanket statement, as like, we have this market share in a boardroom. Yeah. It's not really okay. Yeah. And like, what does that mean?
It means we can toast. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of how you use that data. Now, brand recognition studies or brand recognizability studies are important. They're not in the same family, but they're nice nets to cast. Like I think there was a study done not long ago, if I remember, somebody in here might remember, but they did the most recognizable brands in the firearms business, and that's done a lot. And that's a great different kind of net, right? But still useless in the boardroom, but kind of like, how are we doing? What's our brand health? Do people know who we are? That is a more interesting piece of data to me than the other one, but still another toast-worthy data point.
There's a direct, not even correlation, a little bit deeper between your brand recognition and your market saturation, right? Not as like the piece of it, but if there's 76,340 FFLs, if there's 4,600 of those are brick and mortar, how many of those brick and mortar have my product in it? That's market saturation. So brand recognition, that can matter there. But then again, there's been a lot of calls where people have called and said, hey, I've never heard of Blackhound before. And you know what my response is? Well, there was a day where you first heard this company, this company, this company. Today's the first day you heard this. And it's once we're past that part of the conversation, it will never matter again. So a lot of people focus on something that is the first 5 seconds of the conversation. They get done with that. Now what?
Right.
Now what do you got? Who? You know who I am. The word I hate, exposure. Right? Oh, I hate it. And I always, every ad salesman that calls and gives me some exposure pitch, I always do the same thing. I say, let's say his name's Frank. I'm Frank. Are you aware that every day hundreds of children, this is very dark, but are you aware that hundreds of children die of starvation around the world? Yes. I'm
Sound like
aware.
UNICEF.
Right? Yeah, you're aware. When was the last time you wrote a check? Never. Okay, exposure's bullshit. Just because you know of something doesn't mean you're a qualified customer, but we're so worried about who knows about us, we're not even focusing on qualifying who our customers are.
And we both know exposure is like a dirty word. That was the word like Recoil TV tried to use. You know, it's like we can reach 75,000 fucking TVs with this with this thing on Recoil TV, and you're sitting there and you're saying 75,000. I'm like, for $100 on YouTube, I can hit double that. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, but that's an old man's marketing word. It's terrible. Like the minute I hear it, I'm like, what?
And even with the TV thing, they may have watched it because they're clicking through and there's just nothing better. But an internet click, they didn't accidentally watch that video.
Right.
They intentionally did it. And if you can take them, and we're so focused on creating content, which believe me, it's very important and a huge part of what we're doing. But if you're just making content to talk to people and not getting anything in there that creates a conversation that makes them call you, text you, talk to you, if you're not generating those conversations, then either you're selling, which is a waste of time, or you're just talking to them.
You'd have to first be entertaining, and there's about 4 people that are entertaining in the firearms business. There's about 400 that think they're entertaining, but there's about 4 there's about 4 that are entertaining that you'd actually give a shit to listen to, that don't sound like they're in their mother's kitchen.
And I just hired one of them. That's his job.
Doing a video.
We hired this guy because of his pages, his stories. He was he's a former Marine. We knew who he was, and every day was just doing these great stories. And we're like, that's what we need to tell. So we quite literally, now he's doing other stuff. He's answering everybody that orders. He gets a text from him. You know, he's doing that stuff too, right?
Tell a story.
But his job is to tell stories. And can I track a direct ROI from that? Hell no. But what I can definitely do is the fact that he's been on for a month, and on YouTube and comments on our videos that he's not in, people are using his name. Hey, I talked to Dave. And he's not even in the video. But there's a brand recognition from watching that video to I remember my experience, right?
You mean the video's not all about the product?
Never. I hate talking about product.
Dun, dun, dun.
No.
Sacrilege in this
Stop
industry.
selling.
What do you mean?
Stop selling.
QVC. It has to be like QVC, though.
Years ago when I sold cars, I was really freaking good at it. And I hated every day. I hated going to work. Unfortunately, I was selling a lot. Or making a lot of transactions. What I soon realized was I never sold a car. I put a lot of people in exactly what they wanted. But if someone comes to you and you have to sell them, they're not qualified and ready to buy. Get them to the point where they are, get to know them, have a conversation, build a relationship. Those things will follow. But coming in with a sale is so short-sighted. And the rule in our company, no selling. There's no one with a name that says sales.
I thought I was the only guy that sounded like Tony Robbins in this business. It's true. You're not wrong.
He looks a lot better than I do.
He's taller than me.
He's got that jaw.
That's for sure. Yeah. But yeah, you're not wrong. You're 100% right.
If I ever wrote a book, it'd be called Stop Frickin' Selling.
If I can write I think that book exists. Yeah. Doesn't that book exist? Somebody in here, Stop Selling?
Stop Selling? Well, yeah. Okay, well,
they already took your name.
Oh, damn it.
You got to trademark that stuff. Yeah, I think that. Let me check. I think that exists. Let me go check to the power. Let me go on the powerful Amazon. Stop selling book. Let's see.
But that's literally where our growth has come from. We don't see anything. There's the product we distribute, but that's not what they're buying. They're buying the experience. And the reason I say we don't have any competitors is because that's our product, and no one even comes close. And each week, each month, we're doing stuff this week to where we're improving that even more. We're setting that benchmark even higher. When you focus your product on that experience rather than the physical good you're distributing, you don't have any competitors.
Listen, we might have got lucky.
Yeah.
I think
is it not on there?
Somebody get online and copyright Stop Selling.
Ben, if you're listening, please
immediately.
Please process that.
We might. Yeah, there's a few close calls, but
mine will be F asterisk some selling, but
yeah, well, it's available.
My people will be mad if I said the actual title.
Write that down. Write that down. So, listen, it's amazing. I love what you're doing.
Well, we're doing a lot, and yes, right now we're making optics. That's the first thing. And I don't want to get into optics and all that stuff. You had Brady on. He did a really good job. That man didn't tell us. He told the whole truth. He's got everything you need to know about the market was on that episode. So if anybody's wondering about the optics market, go watch Brady, right? But that's just the first product. We've gone into this less of a want to be the top scope company and more of I want to be Vista in 7 years. I want to create this is the first one. This got us in. With that product, we get to have hundreds and hundreds of conversations a week. And we learn and we database, we put them into Basecamp, we take the keywords. I talk to every single one of the employees every day, and what'd you learn, who'd you talk to? We database it. That's where you develop where your company's going. If you focus solely on the product, we're going to keep growing optics. We're going to get some cool stuff in. But the next step we're going on is how we can service the industry. We've got 2 ACS. We're going into retail space design for these gun shops, because let's think what a gun shop has. They have a security protocol they have to maintain. They are selling a product that's federally regulated and requires certain processes. They have all these different requirements, and that has translated into a retail design format that is pushing away more potential gun owners. The reason they're buying on Gun Broker and then stopping when they realize they have to go to a gun store to get it is because that environment is, that 21%, those retail environments are an environment we're comfortable with, not them. So you're in Vegas here, right? Think of another industry
I hope.
that's highly regulated, has a security protocol, but treats their customers entirely different. Dispensaries. There is nothing that a gun store has to do, hardly, that they don't. They're almost the exact same model, but if you walk into one to research it and you walk into the other, there's a stark difference. My vision is that gun stores, kind of like what Scottsdale, Georgia Gun Club, those type of people going and breaking away from the Army Navy look.
Right.
The more inviting you make that environment, the more you're going to grow. If a small FFL wants to do anything, especially if they're in a suburban area to a major metropolis, the one thing they could do is redesign their store. And the next step of Blackhound is we're designing not the slat wall fixtures that you get from like every other retail group gets, right? We are creating retail hardware specifically for this industry. If it's going on a slat wall, it's going on a peg wall. It's not just the hook that you balance the gun on. We're making things that are specific for this, and that's one of the things we're going to launch. By doing that, now we get that market saturation, right? If we're not just selling them scopes, if we're selling them a solution to their problem, they're going to be a lot more inviting on not just our scopes, but everything else we come out with.
I think this goes down a rabbit hole for me. I think every gun shop should be built. I think if you're going to survive, let me choose my words carefully. If you're going to survive and be successful over the long term, there's a lot of people that the gun shop is like the barber shop. It's an experience. And I think a lot of there's a couple approaches people take. People take the fast food approach. The chairs aren't too comfortable. They're not too nice. I think this is a little tongue-in-cheek, but I think every FFL shop should open like a restaurant. I think they should have like a play. I don't know how you work out the drinks. I'm not the liquor person.
I went to a range that had a bar.
No, I know they exist. I know they exist.
How
it's
they
not
juggle that legally. I have no idea.
Whether it's you get ID'd or you get a bracelet or something. But the point is, and even right here we have it. I mean, to a point, we have it up here. But I think you'll get a lot of guys, kind of like the cigar bar.
Yeah.
Right? Think of a cigar bar. You'll get a lot of guys that if there was booze, cigars, food, a good burger, all you need is a good burger. You're going to get a lot of guys that are going to just go hang out.
Yeah.
That's going to be like the club. So you're going to get $50 off this one, $40 off that one, whatever. And while they're there, they're going to buy a box of ammo. They're going to buy a gun because, and this is a note to everybody out there, 90% of your civilian gun owners, okay? 90%. And I say this with a good degree of certainty. They buy a gun, maybe they buy two, but they never buy one. Once they get to two, they get to three, they get to four, they get to five. They become collectors. The ones that are buying one are few and far between. And something happens when you buy a firearm. You don't want to give that right back.
Now, how far back are you going with that? Are you going like current gun buyers right now from the interviews we've had? And we've done a lot of them.
That's an availability issue.
Oh, no. When we talk to people that bought a pistol specifically in the rush because of their emotions about the situation, one of the questions I ask is, do you intend, so they started with an IWI Masada, right? Do you intend to go to anything else? And the vast majority of them at that time, no.
Maybe, but that's incomplete data.
But that doesn't mean that down the road they won't.
And part of that problem is precipitated by the lack of ammunition, which don't even get me into.
True.
Okay, the lack of ammunition, which means people aren't going on the range, people aren't training on it. So I maybe with this period in time, and I knew you would bring up that example, but I think it's also an inventory issue contributing to it. If more was available, because I know once you get me, I know this much. This is where I was going. Once you get me in that seat with that hamburger,
yeah,
I'm buying another one. At some point in the experience, I'm buying another one.
Yeah.
But it has to evolve. The gun shop experience has to evolve past the, and I go to gun stores here where this happens. You walk in and they're like, "What do you want?" You know, it's like it's a hard atmosphere.
Yeah.
So
or in a dispensary, like I was saying, right? Mm-hmm. When you go in, there's a certain level of curation, or I don't know. There's not sales, but it's focused on what that person wants. But in the gun world, I mean, can I see that gun?
Yeah, and listen,
okay,
it's a simple question every owner of a gun store needs to not only talk to their employees about, but ask themselves first, which is, what's my buying experience?
Yeah.
What does that look like from the start to the finish? I know for me, if I'm going to go drop a couple grand on some guns, which isn't beyond the realm of possibility for me, everybody sees the walls behind me, I want to sit down, I want to have a hamburger. Wine and dine me a little.
Yeah.
Make me feel good. That's me. And I think that model will save a lot of FFLs in the lean times, because in the lean times, if money, this is how guys operate, people. Let me talk to you for a second. This is how guys operate. So in the lean times, people might cut back on the amount of guns and ammo they buy, but no guy's going to stop having that hamburger on a Friday afternoon. Jesus Christ ain't going to get him to stop having that. It's just, that's how a guy is. A guy's going to go out, hey, I'm going to go hang with the guys. Where are you going to go? And if you're, most people don't want to go hang in a bar room proper. Those days are over. You want to go somewhere where it's like, you're going to hang out, maybe have a little banter. I know 5 people in this room that would go to one right now, right after here.
Yeah.
But it's a combination of, like you said, evolving the image of what a gun shop is, building an experience, and then banging it like a drum. And there's going to be lean times, no matter what in an FFL game. Mm-hmm. But how much does it cost you to pay a waitress? Most of them get paid on, if I went to a place that just had pizzas and hamburger, I go all the time. I go every day.
Yeah.
I think the buying experience has to evolve a little bit. And yes, the attitude of, one guy just goes, now I want a hamburger. But I think
DoorDash.
I think it has to evolve just a little bit into, and it doesn't have to be a restaurant, guys. It's being a little, but that's because I'm fat and I'm Italian. It has to be food. So, but you can do whatever that is. I'm not saying put jumpy houses and stuff like that. There's a couple concepts that you could run with that could be very enticing during those lean periods. Because I think about those 6-8 month stretches where nobody's buying anything. How are you putting monies with the till? I mean, you could put tanning beds in there. You can do some tanning. A gym and guns would work. That concept, I've talked about that for years. If you had a gym that's all...
There's a thing now with the tactical games.
Yeah.
We were at, Peacemaker, and probably 13, right? Just got done with the 3-gun event, and they were setting up for the mud run. And actually, this idea went down. We were talking about it because on that mud run, someone drowned in the dumpster or something like. They filled the dumpster. I think someone drowned or something.
Wow.
And it was kind of a bad timing. And so I was saying, hey,
Jesus,
why can't we mix that with this? Well, then right after it, someone drowned, and that thing went right.
Right.
But it doesn't mean the idea was bad. And Tactical Games has proven that, right? It's a successful model, and I think they'll be doing it for a long time. But like you said, you come up with an idea and it doesn't work. Well, that's it, and you're done.
You're finished.
If I told you how many things I have screwed up in the past 10
but
years, but that's where you learn the things that make you succeed. This idea that you can read the books, work with these people, have these experiences and not fail and still succeed, it's not going to happen. And brands have a tendency to avoid doing new things because of that anxiety that comes from, what if I fail?
Listen, there's a million examples of great hands-on owners, but there's also a million examples of owners like for example in football, right?
Yeah.
You never met a sport or an industry in the world. I could tell you stories that would go on for 2 podcasts about Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells and Robert Kraft. Some owners need to understand it's best that they own. Yeah. Some owners are hands-on and they're successful, but they stay in their lane. But I know this. There's 2 types of owners. There's owners that assume everybody else in the room is smarter than them till proven otherwise. That's a great owner. Then there's owners that they have to be the smartest person in the room all the time. And that's where it becomes insanely dangerous.
And it's impossible to consult that owner.
So it's very hard to talk to that owner. I can deal with the latter, not the former. I like a guy who sits in a room and says, wow me with an idea. Show me something. Give me the opportunity to say whatever. I like this or I like that, but don't give me the owner that says, I know everything. Now, it's okay to shoot an idea down. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if you got 3 pitches in your bag, 2 might get thrown down, but give me a chance to make the pitch.
Give me something.
Give me, don't assume you know everything to the point where I can't even get a word in. We joke. These people exist.
I work with them.
They exist. So
one of the things we do is, I don't care what part of the company you're in. We run a lot of things through a lot of people before we do them, because we've built a team that's so diverse with so many different parts of the market, like you were saying, right? That we're going to catch different things from different perspectives with almost every idea. Now, you can look at it as too many cooks ruin the pot. No, eventually someone's going to make the decision, right? But there was a time, for instance, that Jim and Murray had me on the phone, and they were absolutely convinced that I should be doing things slightly different in a small regard. Now, did I make them sell it? Did I make them go down and punch holes in every bucket to make sure that they've thought of everything? Yeah. But you have to take that guidance, because when you empower your team to represent your brand on all levels, they will see the things. Are you familiar with in the Marines, they got the admin departments, S1 through 6, right? I like to say that, and I'll make sure I say this right. I wrote it down to make sure I said it right, because a lot of S's. If you use your employees more as the intel side and less as the operational side, right? And you have that group that's in all those different sub-markets like we're talking about, they are going to bring you the most authentic data possible if you empower them to do so.
Right.
And if they know, what's the cliche? Open door, right? Most people that say, I have an open door policy, don't have an open door policy, right? But by empowering them to go out and get that data for you and to go get that and report back, you're taking it out of a centralized system. You're taking all those variables into account and creating a much larger picture that you can make decisions from,
Right.
rather than just traditional research. But what we tend to do in upper management is that's your job. That's your job. This is my job. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a while, right? I've had to tell some employees, I don't care how long I've been doing this. I have you here because your opinion matters, because I want to hear it, right? Speak up, be heard. If I'm wrong, tell me. The fastest way to get fired in any company I run is to be a yes man.
Well, you are rare.
Nothing's faster.
Well, you are rare. We got to get out of here. What? Say something.
Do you want to talk about what's coming in September?
Well, go ahead.
Because I want you there. So
Talk about it.
So as far as things that are different, the scope company doing this, and we've gotten some feedback like, why were you doing this? But we noticed from going to SHOT and NRA and range days that the brand and media relationships are stagnant, right? In this, especially after the past year of Zoom calls and all. A trade show is a terrible place to make relationships with media. A range day, even if you make content, out here in Vegas or any other range day, that content lasts maybe 3 weeks because everything's the same mag dump, the same picture from the same, and it's going to last a few weeks and then it's over. The impact isn't there. Plus, it's a terrible place to build a relationship because you're there hustling and selling and moving, right?
Right.
In the auto industry, SEMA's been doing something for 26 years. And what they do is they go to Orange County and they rent out the embassy suites. Now, there's a unique structure to that hotel. You've got the suites, you've got the front office, lounge, you got the back room. And they rent it out, and the brands each get one of the suites.
Okay.
Then media, which I hate that word, but we say content creators, much more expansive. They come as attendees and call it speed dating, call it whatever, but you have a dedicated 30-minute meeting with that. You turn that front room into their space, their office, their exhibit space. You block off 30-minute sections. So imagine if you were at SHOT and you were going to go talk to a brand that you've got some ideas with that you'd like to grow. Imagine if you could snap your fingers and for 30 minutes the entire show goes away.
It's like a presser.
You get that time to build, not sell, but to develop and build. And then after that, open bar, best dining you've ever had. It's in a spot designed for those relationships. There's no event in this industry that is specifically designed to build those.
Oh, I like it. I think that's what I've said. I don't want to get. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. I like that idea. I'm going to go down that rabbit hole because we've said it a long time, multiple times. Like there's certain things that at the NSSF level they could be doing that are very similar, and they could be doing them very seamlessly, very easily to make what they already have existing. So I like the idea. I'm 100% on board. I think that's something that's long overdue. Whether or not you could get it off the ground is another story, but I hope you do. Whatever that means.
Means you're there.
Yeah.
Sound good?
I think it's a great idea. But it comes down to getting the brand. Like, I don't want to go down this road. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. So at SHOT Show, I've said it 100 times. Nothing they do upstairs is appealing. And to your point of your format, you have all,
especially when that's not why you're there.
All those brands are there at the event. But my issue is they could be doing, and I'm not saying it's not the same thing. I know what you want to do. They could be doing things like panels, discussions that I'd like to be here. I'd legitimately like to hear them. But they're not putting those things together. So it's a common sense solution to a common sense problem. And it's very hard to get those implemented in this business. I can't believe it. I'm even saying it because it's true.
It's hard, but that's why we're here places like this. That's why Murray's on the phone. Calling people you saying, hey, this is new. And like we discussed, nothing creates anxiety in this industry more than new. And no one knows exactly what they'll get. It's a 26-year proven model, but people don't care. They haven't experienced it yet. So what I'm looking for is companies and content creators that are willing to try something new. When you go to a trade show as a brand, you want to talk to those people. That's not why you're there. You've got numbers. You've got someone down your neck. We've got to get this much revenue, this much per day, this much for the show.
What companies you have committed? Anyone big yet? I'd be curious.
Athlon Outdoors bringing people. On the brand side, we're working more on getting media first before we go after the brands too much more.
Sure.
I want to make sure there's something for them to come to.
Yeah.
And the site is 2acontentsummit.com because 2ACS was taken with the hashtag 2A Candy Store is going to get a lot of attention.
I like it.
Yeah, but we're working at growing that. Murray's on the phone, speaking to people as much as we can. I'm about to head up to Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, those regions, to be with a bunch of manufacturers who, for them, it's the lowest hanging fruit. They can drive there. We chose Indy because of all the NRA shows. Indy had the best attendance. It's the easiest to get to. Most of the manufacturers are regionally closer to there. And honestly, there's amazing food. Just within 10
I'm
minutes
in.
walking,
What food?
It's amazing. Within 10, was it 25 top restaurants within a 10-minute walk? Yeah.
Perfect.
So you've got all this stuff here. We've got open bar reception twice a night. And we just did a thing with Poma to where Poma members get in free. So let's do some math
Free.
here. Poma membership, special discount is $150. The creator is $300. So go become a Poma member, get in for free. Or get in for $150 essentially. And then if you're a brand and you join Poma, we're going to take your entire membership to Poma off the price of 2 ACS, because this isn't about the money. This is, like we said, we can sit here and talk about what these other organizations, NSF, NRA, should be doing, or we could do it. And it may be the small 2-year-old scope company doing it. Who cares? Get it done. Do it. That's what we're doing.
I'm quite fine with that. I'm quite fine with that scenario.
Well, then maybe we'll work with you and make some of that happen a little bit better. Would that be something you'd be interested in?
I could be.
Well, we'll talk.
I'm expensive though, and for me, it's about the money. No, I'm kidding. Kidding.
You think I went into this without a budget?
No, we gotta get rolling. All right, listen. I appreciate everyone, and listen, it was an honor having you.
It was great to finally meet you after stalking you.
Fun to have some banter.
But I think you and I are going to be friends for a while.
Listen, I do a terrible job of keeping friends around, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. All right, listen, we got to roll.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Hey, anytime. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. Go check out a complete list of the sponsors there. We'll put some information down below on all of them, but go check out CAA Gear Up USA, Pulsar, Enforce Weapon Lights, Blackwater Ammunition, Galco Leather Holsters, and Kenzie's Optics if you're purchasing any, and, everybody else. Thank you, guys. Leave a review wherever podcasts are heard. Did I forget anything? Thumbs up. Anything? No? We're good? All right. We're out.
We're out.